seen nobody like this. You ain't seen nobody like this. You hear my sound all over town singing. Whoa. You ain't seen nobody like this. You ain't seen nobody like this. You hear my sound all over town singing. Whoa. I think it's something in the water. If you wanna take a sip, but be careful what you wish for. The faint of heart can't handle it. Everybody wants a piece of someone else's prize, but it ain't free, it don't come cheap. Only the strongest will survive. You ain't seen nobody like this.
Okay. So what's the overall feeling like in the locker room with the club right now? Obviously, you come away with the draw, but you were very close to getting the 3 points here.
Yeah, I think we created more than enough opportunities to win that game. You know, I don't know what the count was, but I know it was high. You know, and the type of opportunities that we created were high percentage opportunities. You know, we have to be more clinical. You have to put teams away. Had the opportunity to do that. You know, I think as a collective, we defended very, very well. Pressing again was highly effective. I mean, that's soccer. You know, it's you know, we remain undefeated at home as 17 games. That's it.
How did the complexion of the match change after?
Sorry.
I think we're having some connection problems.
Yeah, I heard something. I didn't hear like actually what your question was.
I was asking how the complexion of the match changed after Koyo was sent off late there.
I mean, it's like any game. If you're playing a man down, obviously that presents a different challenge. You know, I thought the guys were doing well to limit their opportunities. You know, it was like one action at the end, and you know, hats off to a bicycle kick. You know, you don't see that very often. You know, so it's soccer.
It seemed like late in the match there were a lot of people on both sides who were fatigued or might have been cramping up and reaching for things like that. Was it a difficult match with the conditions early in the year from the fitness standpoint, or how did you see that have an impact?
Yeah, it's two top teams battling, competing, both wanting to win the 3 points. And as mentioned, we did more than enough to earn the 3 points tonight. And on both sides of the ball, we did very, very well. You know, it came down to one last action, you know, and hats off to them for getting a spectacular goal, and lessons learned. We got to be more clinical moving forward.
How much different was your tactical approach compared to the?
Greg, you broke up again.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. I was asking how. Can you hear me all right now?
Yeah.
Now I can, yes.
I was asking how much different the approach was compared to the first time you faced this team. How significantly did you change things tactically?
Yeah, I mean, in every game is a different strategy, you know, and as mentioned, we did more than enough to win that game. So we felt the strategy was effective. The guys competed, worked, did everything that was asked. And again, the piece that we learned from this is we got to be more clinical, and we will be. And yeah, we move on, learn and move on.
We're very close to getting 3 points. What's the emotions like in the locker
room? Yeah, I think you guys are very emotional right now. We're disappointed. We're a little frustrated with how the results ended up. We thought we played fairly well. I think we just needed to be a little more clinical with our chances, see the game out.
How did you see that the match changed after the red card? What impact did that have on just the flow of play overall?
Maybe of course, you know, it gives a little boost to RGV, you know, playing with a man up, but we still should have seen the game out. We should have been more clinical earlier in the game. and prevented that kind of situation.
What did you see on that final action that they were able to score on the bicycle kick? What was your perspective of how that play built up, and maybe what went wrong from your guys' side?
Maybe we were scrambling a little bit to get set. We had some guys down with cramps or whatever it was, and ball came in. Just second balls, just didn't get to it first, and he was able to finish it. But it was inches. It's a game of inches sometimes, and that's how it went.
You mentioned the cramps. How much of a factor was the fatigue and general conditions on the field tonight for both sides? It seemed like there were a lot of people kind of getting worn down as the match progressed.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes that's just the way it goes. The game here, you're worried about getting through the game and pushing and winning, and sometimes that stuff just happens, and you just got to push through at the finish. But
you guys are now entering a stretch where you're going to be playing on the road quite a bit. How do you look ahead to that next step, or what do you guys have to do to be successful through these next couple of weeks?
Yeah, we just have to, take some time to reflect on this game and the things that we did well and the things we need to do better. And I think we're gonna take. I think the guys are gonna have a lot of hunger going into next week on the road, and I think the guys are gonna be up for it, and we're gonna take it, and it's gonna make us even stronger.
Matt, can you hear me okay?
Is there?
Okay. Well, I mean, you're going, as Greg said, you guys are going on the road now. And do you feel like a match like this is kind of a blessing in disguise? You didn't get 3 points, you got the draw, but as you said, it lights a fire into you whenever you get ready to go on a road trip like this, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it's important that we take something away from the game to push us forward. Of course, you guys are very emotional and you're very frustrated with how the result ended up, but the game's over now, and we got to take some things away and use it going forward.
Matt, both you and Alan talked about trying to be more clinical with the chances you had. Obviously, you guys were really getting a lot of great opportunities. How much of that, though, do you think was just, particularly for you as a goalkeeper, how much do you think it was Tyler Derrick just having a fantastic night, stopping a lot of great opportunities and keeping his team in the match earlier?
Yeah, I think, of course, you got to give Tyler a lot of credit. He made a number of great saves towards the end of the half, and even to open the beginning of the half to keep his team in the game. But I think just the number of chances that we got and the talent and the ability of the players that we have, I believe in the guys, and we all think that we should have done a little better and put some of those chances away.
Again, I was just asking you about, you guys were very close to getting 3 points and end up coming away with the draw instead. How is the group feeling about that result? What are the emotions like right now?
Yeah, it's definitely tough. We thought that we deserved the 3 points. We fought hard. There's a lot of good stuff from the group. So obviously taking a point is a little disappointing, but objectively, we look at the game, the performance that the group put in, and there's a lot of positives in that. And, that's what we focus on, and we take that and we build on for the next game.
How did the challenge for you guys change, and how did you see the match shift after the red card late?
Oh, yeah, it's definitely tougher, to play a man down with any team. And a team like RGV likes to move in and overload on the wings is tough when you're a man down. So we really just tried to stay compact and limit them. And, it's unlucky how the goal goes in. Obviously, amazing goal by the guy, but, I'm proud of the guys for the hard work that they put in. And we just, like I said, we learn the lessons and we take it to the next game.
It seemed like on both sides there were a lot of guys dealing with fatigue or cramps late in the match. What were the conditions like out on the field for you all?
Yeah, it was definitely a humid game tonight. I'm not sure the exact temperature, but it was tough. Both teams did a lot of running, a lot of attacking, a lot of defending. So I think both teams are fatigued. It's always an intense one when these two teams meet up, So you can see that fatigue set in. But like I said, I'm very proud of the guys. Guys logged in a lot of minutes, man down, and still doing great defensive action. It's just unlucky in the end.
Like you mentioned, there were a lot of good things to take away, especially those
Sorry, you're breaking up again.
minutes before. I wanted to just let me know if you can hear me all right. Is that any better?
I can hear you now.
Okay. Just the overall play, the first 80 minutes or so, when you guys really seem to be in control. What?
Sorry, the last ending of that question. You said the first 85 minutes, and then it started messing up again. Hello, can you hear me?
I'll try to make. Yeah, I think we're back. Are we back? Okay, I'll
Yeah, I
make
can
it
hear
quick.
you now.
First 80 minutes, what jumped out there? You guys seem to be in control.
Yeah, definitely. You know, we trained all week. We implemented a new formation as of last weekend. It's guys are getting comfortable with it. You know, last week it was new. This week we had a little more time working on it, and I think that showed. You know, the back line was stable. We created a lot of chances. You know, the other keeper did well to stop some certain goals. You know, so I think the first 85 minutes was just a product of the chemistry built these past 2 weeks within the group, and getting comfortable playing with each other, creating chances, defending together, and it was a solid performance throughout that. And obviously, with the red card, it's tough to maintain. But I think what everyone was seeing in the beginning, the first 85 minutes of the game, was the chemistry that that we worked on.
Was it a big difference tactically?
Big difference tactically. Yeah, there was obviously some changes since the last time we met them. You know, formation change, the way we approach the game, the way we approach their tactics as well. There are a lot of changes between that game and this one. I think the staff did a great job researching the team and looking within in ourselves and how much better can we be, what can we improve on, and they did a great job translating that to the team. You know, implementing that, and I think the changes put in was very successful. You know, like I said, it's a performance that I'm proud of with the guys. We created a lot of chances. We defended well, didn't give up much, you know, and it's just unlucky on the point, but we take the positives on to the next one.
And now you guys get ready for a lot of matches on the road. How do you prepare for that stretch and the challenge that lies ahead?
Yeah, definitely. You know, we put in a little more work. We realized that we want to be playing in front of an amazing fan base here, and want to be at home. You know, it's different obstacles when you're playing on the road, but this side is built of a lot of professionals, with guys with a lot of experience, guys who are comfortable playing in different environments. You know, so we just work on our professionalism, put in the work, build our resilience, and then we just go ahead and go through this run and taking a game at a time.
Marcus, do you feel like a match like this can be a blessing in disguise? You know, you don't get all 3 points as you were hoping to. It's kind of frustrating. Obviously, the guys and coach are all frustrated. So do you feel like this can be a blessing in disguise as you get ready to hit the road, to have that fire, to go get those 3 points and correct those mistakes?
100%. You know, on the road, you can't control everything. You know, it's a lot of uncontrollables. And as a team, we talk about that a lot, controlling what we can control. And, you know, a game like tonight, you play a man down. We can't control the ref's decision, but we can control the work we put in, how we approach each minute, how we approach each play. And I think this game is invaluable in that, you know, obviously we didn't drop points, and, you know, we still maintained throughout the game, and you just take those lessons into the next games, and we use that to build our resilience to control the controllables when we play these next 4 away games.
And welcome to SA Soccer Roundtable. My name is Harry. Thank you to Preston and the SA social media team, communications team, for sharing the interviews. A lot of good information in there. Joining me tonight is going to be Royce and Rafa. And then later on, we will be having Matt Pollard, the managing editor of The Last Word on Sports, who covers the Colorado Springs Switchbacks and the Colorado Rapids. But obviously, we're going to be talking about the Switchbacks coming up in about a half hour-ish or so for that here. So let's get started. As you can tell by the post-game interviews, it was a 1-1 draw. Little unlucky, I guess you could say, but you know, it took a world-class performance by Tyler Derrick, who had 9 saves, in my opinion, most likely should be the USL Championship Player of the Week.
And
they-
a world-class finish as well. So it took two incredible feats of soccerdom to beat us. Well, not beat us, but to draw us. And that's kind of, it stings a little bit, but to know that it took two basically bits of perfection to draw, not beat us, draw us, that's very encouraging for this team.
And a third one, and an experienced referee. So
Not wrong. Not wrong.
So I've promised Danielle in previous shows that I will not harp on the referees while we're on air.
He was terrible, Danielle, and you know it.
I did that enough earlier in the week on Twitter, so I don't need to rehash it. But no, the 40-second foul, or 42nd minute with Eric Pimentel. And then, of course, the red card was Suelo, in the 80th minute. Very similar tackles. I know they're a little bit different, but...
Yeah, one was in the beginning of the game, one was toward the end. And in the beginning of the game, the ref is like, I'm not going to change the game that much. And then toward the end of the game, he's like, oh, yeah, I'm brave. I can change the game. It's like, okay, dude, you should have done it from the beginning. That would have,
But
it's and some people say, oh, he's just being fair when refs are lenient. No, you're letting the other team cheat. That's all you're doing. You're letting the other team
I
cheat.
think he was very inconsistent the whole game. He
Once
was just
again.
very, very, very nervous, not sure of plays.
He didn't assert himself in a lot of areas he should have. But let's not
But-
talk about the ref. Let's talk about the
Yes.
gameplay because that's the important part.
So, starting out with the injuries, Mr. Snuggles is in the back room making an appearance already.
That kid.
We'll get to Los Gatos here in a few minutes
Yeah, I know.
as well.
We have our own cat appearance. How about that? That's fun.
Injuries. At the time we were getting more healthier. Jose joined the injury list, but we kind of figured that was going to be the case. Justin Dillon, Maloney, and Schulberg were the only other ones on the list. The other concern that we had, Sam Gleedle, was not and started. So
And he looked good.
pre-game, we looked. Hey, we're getting healthier.
Yep.
So thoughts on the injury list going in, and then I'll start with you, Royce, here, and then of course, unfortunately, PC had what looks like a serious injury. And for him to be carted off, in my opinion, tells me and
Well,
how he
stretchered
went
off.
down.
Stretchered
Or
off.
Stretchered off. Pardon.
Carted off is
A little
a
bit
lot
different,
worse.
yeah.
Stretchered
Still
off.
to be carried off
and-
the pitch.
Yeah, and he was in crutches still watching the match, so he didn't immediately need to go to the hospital, which is, it doesn't mean it's bad because it's still terrible, but I guess it could have been worse. Like if he
I don't
broke
see
something
him
or
playing in Colorado Springs or on the.
I
short
don't
trip.
see
I'll
him-
just leave him. I'll just leave
we'll
it. at that.
see. Yeah. No, I mean, absolutely. All I'm saying is at least it wasn't to the point where it was, you need emergency surgery. You did something that bad.
Yeah.
He hurt himself. It looked really bad. He got stretchered off, but there's that hope. But, it's the hope that kills you. But there's that hope.
Light the candle, San Antonio.
I've been lighting him all day. No, I mean, it sucks. I mean, what can you say? It was non-contact. It was innocuous. He had the ball at midfield. He was trying to distribute it out to his left, and something went. And it was hard to see. It was hard to watch. Whenever he went down, I was like, oh no. The first thing through my mind was, oh no, who was that? And I saw him down, and I was like, oh, was that Cam? And I was like, if that's Cam, I'm like, that sucks.
PC's a captain for a reason.
I don't want to disparage any of the players on the team, but I started thinking through my head, oh, we got to back up if it's Cam. We got to back up if it's this person. And then I realized it was PC, and I was like, we don't have a backup for PC. This is not good. That's the injury that you, SAFC, really could least afford. And I thought that was going to be it for this match, because in the beginning of the match, let's start with the gameplay in the beginning. RGVFC really dominated possession. They had the ball. They would go out to a wing. They'd bring it back to the center backs. They distribute it out to the other wing, and they were just going back and forth, trying to get SAFC to come out of that little block that they formed with the 3-4-3 that they have now. The 3 and the 4 whether that's a 5-2 or a 3-4. They held steady, and they held real close together. They didn't let a lot through. They only had a couple chances off of that were kind of, I think maybe one was on goal, but Cardoni saved it. They dominated possession. They didn't really dominate the game though. I mean, the defensive block looked really good in the beginning of the game. Like I said, they just kept going. RGVFC kept going back and forth, trying to pick them out to the point where they stretched themselves out too wide. And when we got possession, we attacked straight up the middle. And we had a lot of joy doing that because they didn't have a lot of guys in the middle. And so RGV had to make the first tactical adjustment, and that was get strong in the middle. And they never really did that. And that's why SAFC kept trying to go to the middle, because they really did have the numbers, because RGV tried to spread them wide. It didn't work too well, and so they tried to go in the middle. Rafa, how do you feel about the analysis from the beginning? What did you see?
Basically, RG was playing just a bunch of ping pong up side to side the whole game. That's all it was. But what I did like from this game, from the last game, is that SAFC kept their shape defensively.
Mm-hmm.
So they didn't let anything in, except for the two playing the ball from the back, couple bad passes that, we could have actually been down 2-0. There was a couple, I know Matt had to save one of them.
Right.
That's something they do need to fix there, on the passing in the back. But, but we kept our shape, and I think they got a little frustrated. They just couldn't, break through, and finally we figured them out and then we started getting more and more up the field, getting the possessions, getting those through balls, and that's when we ended up getting that first goal, which was a beautiful play, and the way it started.
Do you think you're talking about kind of playing out of the back not so successfully a couple times? Do you think we need to go more with the to see if Cardoni has a left foot like Ederson and kind of bypass everything and just try to find somebody on the wing and attack that way? Find Nathan on the wing and have him drive and dribble?
I think the issue more is we need to give the ball out of there quicker.
Yeah.
I think
For sure.
It's okay to kind of kill some clock a little bit, play possession, but you gotta get that ball out of there quicker, because the RGB forwards were pretty fast, and there were times that they were almost, they stole a couple of balls, and sometimes they were close, and like I said, they had two opportunities to get up on us. So I think that's something they do need to fix, is get that ball out of the box quick. Let's get get up the field, especially the formation we're in, get up the field a lot faster, especially if they're putting numbers up. We need to get that ball up to take advantage of that.
Yeah. Yeah, that pretty much sounds about right. And I will say, to their credit, I'm sure it's something they've been working on. We went into all preseason, in the first couple matches, we really tried to stick with that 4-4-2, that mid block, real tight 4-4-2, and it was successful against Colorado. To an extent, it was successful against Real Monarchs, except for going down a man, and that kind of broke up the formation. It was not successful at all against RGV, and that's why the next week we changed to this low block, real close together, 3-4, or like I said, 5-2, depending on where the wingbacks are. And just how defensively stout that is, it's great, but they haven't exactly been working on playing out of the back as a team except for 2 weeks. So that's going to come. And yeah, they looked a little slow. They made some mistakes. You got the season to figure that out. Hopefully people stay healthy, so you get the same guys on the field to keep working on that. But
that's the biggest issue for me is we've yet to finish a game.
How many times we've changed lineups and had to change
health. Well, it's not even just the lineup, but in game they've had to sub people off due to injuries. And I was asking Rafa that, and I know I think it's Greg Luca, in the interviews.
By the way, Greg Luca, dude, get some Google Fiber or something, man. Your internet can't
I was going to mention that.
Come on, Greg.
He's going to be on that. Is that going to be on the commercial now?
From the Express News for that here. Talked about it was a hot night. It was the first hot night. The cramping, but I'm seeing a lot more lower body injuries this year. Is that just due to last year with it being COVID, not being able to play, or is it possibly something else? I'm not trying to say it's on the staff or anything, but maybe how they're training. I don't remember seeing this many lower leg injuries going down, like that here this early in the season, because it's not even hot here in San Antonio yet. That was the hottest night, so far, but it's gonna get hotter, and of course, and just with the amount of games that they've got coming up, to me, it's a little bit of a concern at this point with just how the health is stacking up so far.
Well, there's three things. Number one, they're not all lower leg. Schuberg, PC, Gallegos, those are either groin or hamstring injuries. Those aren't lower leg. That's just
or lower
just
body.
power.
I guess I should say lower body.
Okay, lower body's fine. Leg injuries in general.
Yes.
Number two is this high pressing system. It is a high pressing system. You're going to be doing a lot of running. And three, it's bad luck. It's neither of those. It's bad luck. That's all it is. It's bad luck, man. And it happens.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it happens some teams a lot, and to some teams it doesn't happen at all. But like we've been saying this whole time, you really hope that the injuries only happen in this part of the season, and then you get to the end of the season and you're healthy and you're ready to go and you're good to go.
Especially
and
from
that's
October. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of that's the bonus of having a long season. Hopefully PC comes back. Honestly, you'd hope it was a broken bone, because broken bones, they heal in about 8 to 12 weeks, and then you're back and you're going to have them for the end of the season. So we'll see, man. Muscle injuries, like we said with Justin Dillon, like we said with Schuberg, they're just, you never know. You never know. It could be fine tomorrow. It could be, you can go to sleep and wake up and, oh, I'm fine. Or you can go to sleep, you wake up and, okay, I don't have a leg anymore. It's not going to work. So it's one of those weird things, but it's a luck thing. So everybody listening, all SAFC fans, light some candles, because we need that good juju right now. For sure.
So, Rafa, we're assuming PC, at least based on how he left the pitch, is going to be out. At least for Colorado Springs. We'll say at least for the next game, possibly the road trip. Thoughts on who fills his spot, or how the kind of rotation? Also Emil's going to be out next game. You got a red card in the 80th minute. So what kind of changes with the injury? Really, is that going to impact on the midfield at this point?
Well, now like I mentioned, we talked with Royce earlier, now you have to move Lima inside for that role. And we're going to be a little thin there too going in this road trip. So light those candles, because we can't afford another injury in the middle. So you move him inside, some options for the outside. If they do change the system, they could, if they go to that 4-4-2, you can have Epps on the outside, Guido on the right side, whichever, for flip-flop, wherever they want. You're going to stick to that 3-4-3. Another option would be Ollie. I think he's got the speed and the stamina but the only thing is that the inexperience could catch up if he's marked with someone that has a lot of experience. So, but sometimes you got to throw them into the fire and let them learn, and it's a risk. You win it or you lose it. So, but he's gonna have to really step up his game if he's given that opportunity. So it's gonna be, like I say, interesting what type of combination they're gonna have going into this game, or are they gonna stick to this formation, or are they gonna go back to what they did in the first game? So. As far as with PC, if it is something serious, do we go out, sign somebody else, which more likely we're probably going to, at least just to fill that, that depth chart, because we're going to need it if he's going to be out for quite some time. So, and I'm sure they're probably maybe already looking to, seeing who is out there. So there, you have options, but the risk thing is, like I said, on the bench you have inexperienced wingers like Leroy Torres and Ali. You can't really trust them to put them in the starting lineup just yet. They're more role players coming off the bench, but
Marcina's
going to
surprise you though.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You either sink or swim. It's you're gonna have to take a chance, and if it works, if you get the win, hey, great. If not, you're gonna look like a genius. If not, you get the blame. So it's gonna be interesting coming up this Saturday. But I do, like I said, what lineup he does. But I do anticipate. I think Lima's gonna take that role where PC's at, especially with Cuello out with the red. So we'll see who they put on the wing.
Royce, your thoughts on the changes in the midfield that's going to be upcoming?
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm kind of drawing up what I should have done a lineup to show you, but it's Memorial Day and I've been working my butt off on my backyard to try to get it ready for a graduation party. Let's see. How do I feel about the formation? Obviously, we could keep the 3-4-3. It's going to be a little difficult just because kind of midfield depth kind of comes into play there, but yeah, I know. Whereas we don't need a center back. Callum's, I'm sure he's doing all right, but somebody mentioned Callum Montgomery. I will say that. So the two in the middle, regardless, is probably going to be Lima and Levy. I mean, they've been the most likely people in the middle. You've had PC kind of be out on the left back or left wing back. Obviously, he's probably not going to play in this next match. So kind of my thoughts for what we'll do is we may, and this is kind of the difficult part is, and this is what Marcina is going to have to deal with is a wing back is a very important position because you have to play offense, but you have to really play defense because otherwise you're going to leave people exposed. And you really have to have experienced guys to play that. If hopefully Maloney can come back because that would solve all your problems. Gleedle and Maloney can both play left and they can play right, which is incredible. But, Maloney's got to be healthy for that. And if he's healthy, that solves it right there. Done. You really don't have to do anything. Enjoy Memorial Day, but that's probably not how it's going to go.
It's going to be that easy.
What I think is going to happen, though, is I think in this upcoming match with Colorado, or Colorado Springs, we are going to go back to the 4-4-2. I think Gleedo's going to be the left back. I think Matthew DePlane's going to be the left back. I think as a center back pairing, you're probably going to have Jasser Kamiri, which, by the way, did you guys see that? Yeah, exactly. For sure. Did you guys see that picture of the Tunisian Terminator staring over, just hovering menacingly over that RGV player? That RGV player looking like, what did I do? And he's just looking at him like, I'm going to destroy you. That's why I love that guy. Good Lord. I'm so happy he's on her team. But anyway, as a center back pairing, it's either going to be Doyle and Jasser, or it's going to be Varela and Jasser. We'll see.
Who do you favor between those two?
Who do I favor?
Well, obviously Jasser's the to me. If Jasser's healthy, he starts.
I think so. He's the distributor and he's a good clearance guy. I think it's probably going to be Doyle, to be honest with you. Over Varela, and that's just because Doyle is playing over Varela. But Varela is also new. He's new to the club. He's been with the club 2 or 3 weeks. 2 weeks. And Matthew, I would prefer as a center back because he has been amazing. But I think he's going to have to fill in on the as a right back. As far as the wingers, that's kind of where it gets interesting. Epps is probably going to be on the right where he was in the beginning. The left is what's going to be interesting. I think it's either going to be Nathan. Nathan has been one of the wingers in the preseason, not in a match, or it might be Hopiao. I think Hopiao was the right winger in the RGV match at RGV.
Yeah, he played a little bit over a half, and then was subbed out.
And Epps was on the left, and they kept switching back. So you will probably see that. That's kind of what I'm thinking. And then either, I will say, if Nathan plays as one of the wing backs, then I think it's going to be Perusa and Patino up top, which I know a lot of people want to see. I don't know if that partnership's going to work exactly, but that's what a lot of people want to see. But I think it's going to be Nathan and Patino. I mean, come on, man. Yes, we love Perusa. Perusa's back. We're really happy. Patino has 5 goals, man. Like, what are we talking about? But I think
he's
it's going to
talking about over Nathan. But Nathan's been close. He was
Nathan. Like I said, he's that guy that connects the attack with the midfield and the defense. You need that guy. That guy is super important, especially in that 3-4-1-2 that we've been playing as the one. He is super important. But like I said, I think it's going to be Hapiao as one of the wingers, it's going to be Epps as one of the wingers, and I think we go back to that 4-4-2.
And I'm going to bring on Matt Pollard, managing editor of Last Word on Sports.com. What I found interesting is he does have some USL experience from a team no longer around, St. Louis FC. Shout out to the St. Louligans.
Hey, St. Louis.
And of course, he's a beat writer for Colorado Rapids and this week's opponent, the Colorado Springs Switchbacks. So since we're kind of talking about what the possible week will be for San Antonio with all the changes, I thought it would be an excellent time to bring him on before we do have to get into one other thing from the last game here. A little bit of fun, for that here. So we'll do that real quick, and then we'll get into more of the
serious stuff
here. The serious stuff here. So I labeled this episode Los Gatos Blancos for this reason right
Let's
here.
Go.
Oh, we've got a feline furry running on the field there. Gets one of the loudest ovations of the night.
The fans are loving it. Kitty's running to the sideline, wondering if they're supposed to be subbed in.
And the kitty makes the run down towards the corner. He's looking for the tunnel. And he crosses out over touch there to the locker room. Well done. Oh, we've got
thank you to SAFC Twitter and USL Championship Twitter, for that here. Oh, Roy, stop it.
I'm from Springfield, Missouri, so I'm that's my
So
my
since you
birthright
brought on
being a
the Cardinals, and Matt's in I'm assuming the Denver area, I believe is where you are.
Yikes!
How excited were you that the Rockies paid St. Louis to take their best player?
The Rockies are a good example of what I think has been really poor sports management by the various front offices in recent years here.
Are you saying the Colorado Rockies are the New York Cosmos of the Major League Baseball?
I mean, they haven't done anything illegal, so I guess
that we know of yet.
That we know of. Like they are, they're more, they're like Fulham 3 years ago in the Premier League, where they spent $100 million, then ultimately didn't even stay up or anything. They signed Arenado.
They played
in transfer fees, yeah. So, the Rockies paid a big, huge contract to Arenado, thinking that was going to be them being in contention. 2 years later, it found out that season was just a flash in the pan. And then so basically because possibly fueled by COVID, also because the team's been bad, they don't sell out. The Cardinals are in town, and you will see more Cardinals red than you will Rockies purple at Coors Field and everything. Really, really bad for them. So credit to the Switchbacks and credit to the Rapids, who have spent wisely, done a good job keeping their talent. And also, I don't think the Switchbacks are going to be trading Haji Berry and then also giving $1 million in transfer fee to San Antonio anytime soon.
Never say never. I will say, that Fulham comparison that kind of hurts because yeah, for sure they were like, let's play $100 million on all these players, but keep the same tactics and the exact same coach and not learn anything from our lessons.
And that's basically where the Rockies are right now because Bud Black is doing a really bad job and they've kept all the other same players. And Trevor's story is great, but let's be real. I think it'll be further proof of the trend if Story ends up leaving in free agency to the Yankees or wherever, and then ultimately just leaves that. And then that's proof that, the Rockies are the Swope Park of the NL West.
And then there's the Broncos.
Those are painful comparisons.
Mr. Elway, you're great as a player, as a GM. Please just step back.
Hey, Drew Lock's from Missouri. Drew Lock's fine. He'll yeah, I don't know how good he is.
He's a meme who occasionally throws a football.
They didn't need Patrick Surtain and the Broncos. Dallas did. I know Dallas. We needed him.
Yeah, they need
No, Broncos need a cornerback help too because they let Chris Harris go. I think that's Chris Harris, right? They let him go, so
they spent a lot of money.
Broncos need Terrell Davis 2.0 for sure.
Okay,
hey, we'll give you Ezekiel Elliott.
Let's get back on topic. Are we talking
Harry, point of order. I thought this was a soccer podcast to talk about the Switchbacks.
Hey, you said your last word on sports is the site you represent. So I was like, hey, well-rounded guy.
Okay. My last word is
but
the Rockies
Avs are good, right? The Avs are doing fine.
Yeah,
the Avs are doing fine.
Yeah, if the Avs beat Vegas, they'll win the cup.
Have you seen Boston play? And Tampa. I think Tampa goes back to back. I would put money on that, but we'll see.
And then there was the hit last night, so that was
Reeves, man. That's what Reeves does. That's who Reeves is. Reeves and Kadri. That's what they do, man. That's what they do. And I mean, Colorado's been without Kadri for 8 games, and they upheld the suspension because you know what Kadri is? He's a headhunter. You know what Reeves is? Reeves just is a bruiser. But he's taller than everybody, so he hits people in the head. Kadri's shorter than everybody, so he launches himself into the head. And that's why the NHL is more likely to suspend Kadri for a long time than Reeves. I think Reeves gets a couple games, though, because that was not good.
That was nasty.
Not a good
score of the game matters. But
so how about the Switchbacks, guys?
Yeah. How about
do you really want to
Field?
talk about the Switchbacks after their last match, which was not very good against New Mexico United? In the home opener, it started out great. Haji Berry got the opening goal, and then it kind of fell apart from there here. But the Switchbacks, obviously they played us the first game, lost 3-0, went on the road to Sporting Kansas City 2, won very convincing 4-0 over there, which El Paso was not able to do that. They drew a 0-0 to them here, so. The Mountain Division is showing that anybody can beat anybody on any different day, and to me, it's the deepest division out there. Maybe not any clear-cut favorites like Phoenix, in the Pacific.
Parity.
But this division, top to bottom, I think is going to be the toughest division, by the time the end of the season rolls around here. But Switchbacks, the first thing we have to talk about is the new stadium. To me, being from Colorado, having spent some time in Colorado Springs, to me, it's a great addition to Colorado Springs and Colorado overall. I know they've already, I think, hosted the high school playoffs there for soccer, if my memory is correct here. And I know they got the Olympic Training Center. They've got the Air Force Academy down there. I've been to the old Widener Field, which I thought was okay. It's better than going to a baseball stadium. And obviously the walk down from, the players walking down the stadium was pretty cool. Kind of unique, but outside of the beer prices, which I've heard are Rocky Mountain High, as we will say.
Yeah, $16 for a 16 ounce of Coors Light, not your family friendly pricing.
Those are Jerry World prices.
But aren't they watered down?
That's
alcohol.
That is a good
Utah.
question.
That's Utah.
Oh, Utah. Okay.
Utah has to be what, like 2% maximum, something like that. Yeah. Colorado, you're up in. Well, to be fair, you're up in the mountains. It's kind of high, so you don't need to drink that much. But either way, $16. That's yikes.
So to answer the original question, Harry, the beer prices notwithstanding, I think, I was at the home opener. I was there really early. Fantastic venue, really, really close, nice seating that you actually have. If you're on the north side, conveniently, at least it was where the Curse were congregating. I'm not sure if it would be the northeast corner of the stadium where the away supporters, that might be their designated area. You have a really, really good view of Pikes Peak just to it'd be to your left, obviously southwest facing of the skybox area that they have. There's really no bad seat in the house. It's in an ideal location in terms of being really, really close to downtown. There's a lot of really decent parking options, some of which you do have to pay for, which kind of adds a little bit extra expense if you're driving in from San Antonio. But, a fantastic venue. I think of every single team in the USL Championship right now that is playing in a baseball stadium gets that in an ideal location downtown for their market and everything. It'd make the USL Championship way better. So fantastic atmosphere with just the 5,600 fans that we had on that a couple Fridays ago for 70% capacity. And right now, we just got word, at least in Colorado, that the Rockies and the Rapids, as of July 1st, are able to go 100% capacity. So the Rapids normally have a 4th of July home game that they have. That'll be at the full 18,061 seated capacity that they're able to have. I would presume then by that first home game that the Switchbacks have in July, they would be able to go up to the full 8,000 and everything. Standing room seating all along the south side that I think makes a lot of supporters groups who don't have that in their stadium setup a little bit jealous. So yes, so the beer price is steep, yes, but the architecture is really cool. It's, a nice fancy new stadium. They've got 2 really good shirts, and as we'll talk to in a bit, getting towards what I think can, by the end of the season, be a competitive product on the field.
So, and it's a great story, and you released a story on it this afternoon. Austin Doing, due to his commitment to the Air Force Academy being reassigned, I guess he's going to pilot school based on your article. So his last match was against New Mexico United. Who kind of steps in and fills his spots? Because watching the Switchbacks game, Colorado Springs, and I know it's only 3 games, for you guys. There's periods of times where Haji Berry seems to disappear, from it here. Where, I don't think it's fault for him. I think it's just the connection to be able to get the ball, from the back, up to him. So who kind of steps in for Austin, and how do you think that the Switchbacks kind of fill in to be able to get Haji more involved on a more consistent basis?
Yeah, so I think to answer your first question, I think the simplest like-for-like position that you have filling in, they called it a 4-2-3-1 on the home opener. For my money, and at least the direction that Brendan Burke wants to go in, on paper, it's going to be more of a 4-3-3. Doing came out for Philip Mayaka, the Generation Adidas product that was drafted by the Rapids and has been loaned down to the Switchbacks. Yes, so I would presume that he would be the like-for-like switch as well, but also Doing was a little bit more mobile, whereas I think Mayaka is very much more of a forward-thinking central kind of a player. So I'm wondering if Burke is going to maybe try and pull do we inevitably want to work towards having a triple pivot in the midfield, in which case I think Lewis, or then maybe having Ronnie Arguda, the old statesman, come in and then have 2 of the other midfielders move up a little bit more. But there's options there. There's versatility. They lose a really good player in Austin Doing. They obviously lose somebody, who fought, bled, cried for the shirt in the case of, when he was subbed out and everything in the 70th minute of the home opener and everything. So they lose that, but they've got a bunch of different pieces they could fill in. I'm curious to see what Brendan Burke does. And in that, I don't think there's an obvious option unless you just wanted to go like for like, in which case you just plug in Mayaka as the starter this Saturday.
Your question? Any questions for Royce?
Not really. Colorado's issues they've kind of continued, to be honest. In the first match against SAFC, it just, like you were saying, Haji Berry just kind of gets, it's supposed to be 3 up front. And then what happens is, it's supposed to be 4-3-3. Well, he gets separated because those other 3 come back to defend because they're kind of weak on the wings. And then Haji Berry is just up there by himself, and it turns into basically a 4-5-1. And that one is just on a lonely island. And that happened against New Mexico, and that's why New Mexico kind of countered, and they only had that one chance, and that one chance for Colorado Springs was it was kind of on a counter. And somebody actually went up with Haji Berry. You had them two pass, and there's a goal. And then
that was Austin doing.
Yeah, it was doing. He went out wide from the
There you
midfield to fill the open space that Zandy had left by dropping back and everything. So I guess, it kind of coupled there because, Harry, I didn't answer your original question about Haji. I think, yes, he phases in and out of games. I think that's just who he is as the player, given, his time as a youth level. I think if he was more consistent, let's be real, he's probably coming off the bench in MLS right now.
Yeah.
So I just think that's the reality of who he is as the player. I guess my more concern is the production that they're actually getting from the wide positions. I haven't been really impressed with Zandy, anything that he's done on the ball. And Nangalina is really, really fast and everything, but, he doesn't really have that finishing product and everything. So can he be an outlet from hey, I'm out in wide space with nobody within 15 yards of me? If somebody out of the back like Edwards pings a 40-yard ball to me, can I get it forward and everything? But he can't really beat, a one-on-one, a defender, 1v1. I mean, he hasn't weaponized his speed in terms of getting around somebody and then actually having the finished product. So maybe it's just because, some of these guys are new to the club and everything, but I think there's a chemistry issue that I think guys need to understand their tendencies a little bit better. And then also I think we need to see a little bit more goal production from other people. And other guys had chances in that game with New Mexico. Barry probably had the best two that they had, one of which was the goal, but, especially with New Mexico playing down a man, Zandy didn't finish. Dewing had two really good chances. He didn't finish. Can Mayaka do that? We haven't seen that from him yet. Other guys have to finish their opportunities. If it's just Haji, can he get 10, 15 goals this season? I think absolutely. Can he do that by having to be a battering ram and having to, spoil 5 chances for every one that he actually gets on goal? Because, as you said, Harry, he's all alone against the center backs and everything. That's a recipe for Barry to pad his stats. That's not a recipe for getting fourth in this division.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Rafa, any questions?
I want to ask Matt, going into this game, what changes do you see as far as from the first game to this game you see Colorado's going to do against San Antonio?
Between Colorado's between the home opener at Widener Field or between the opening game of the season?
The opening game of the season. Yeah, from the first, yeah.
Well, I think I
first
think
meeting.
Yeah, I think the pressing triggers and how they go about doing that is certainly going to be a lot cleaner. That was much, much better in the game against New Mexico. They were bossing that from probably about the first 30 minutes on, just with what they were doing. So I think they'll be more organized in that regard, as opposed to one guy pressing and the other guy not knowing where they're supposed to be. So I think especially with them having 2 weeks to prepare for that game and having that sour taste in the mouth of losing the home opener to New Mexico when they were in control 30 minutes in, I think they'll be better in terms of a pressing standpoint. They're obviously going to be 2 weeks fitter, training at altitude, going down to San Antonio and everything. Whether or not the finishing is really there, I'm not entirely sure, because again, Dewing was the main straw that was stirring the drink in terms of creating offensive chances from midfield into the final third, and now they've lost him. Does 2 weeks of Mayaka training regularly, knowing that potentially he's going to be the starter with Dewing being out there, does he look a little bit more impressive? Because he was a nervous wreck on the ball once he came in with 10 man playing up a man against New Mexico. I don't know what it was, but I think the experience and ultimately the quality of New Mexico really showed through in those final 30 minutes, because yes, they were down a man, but they were in complete control of the game. And I just felt like the Switchbacks, they were chasing the game, and in that they were panicked and they didn't really know what to do. Maybe playing on the road, Burke's going to have them be a little bit more pragmatic. I certainly hope they're going to be better in the first half and everything. But I think if they can keep the game a little bit closer, if they can press a little bit better and get a little bit more production from their wingers and whoever's doing anything it's doing, they'll certainly look a lot better and be happier with the 90-minute performance. Whether or not they get a result, I still have some concerns about.
Well, the one interesting thing is San Antonio struggles just like most teams up, in Colorado. I'm trying to see if they've actually won up there. I know they get a lot of ties. I think that seems to be, a good result for San Antonio is if they can walk away with a draw up there for whatever reason. So that's one thing that I do think that Colorado Springs does have the advantage on, is through there. Now, I do think this is a different San Antonio team with the pressing, with the Patino. This team's very MLS laden in talent, with the Lonies and like Patino coming down from Orlando City, that's signing on here. Gleedle spending some time with Minnesota United, front here. So I've also noticed that there's been a change in goalkeepers, from the first game to I think it's the last 2 games that it's been was it Pannenberg, Andrew
Yes.
Pannenberg, over I think it was Abraham Rodriguez that was started through there. What kind of difference does Pannenberg bring compared to Rodriguez?
Well, Rodriguez is certainly a lot younger. I think he's 19, 20 years old. He's another Rapids homegrown, at least in my time covering soccer here in Colorado. I've been hearing about for the past 3 or 4 years. Abrod's, certainly a little bit more raw. I think a little bit more emotional. He's proven himself to be a really good shot stopper and has, more reflexes. So I guess he's the closer thing to being a Gato if he was a Central or South American goalkeeper. I think Pannenberg's better with his feet playing balls out of the back, and he's certainly been better in terms of organizing things. So his communication, especially with Edwards coming in, they've had just a little bit more rotation there from a defensive standpoint, just because of how late things got started. And there's a cat in the background.
Yes, Mr. Snuggles.
Yes, it's a cat show here, folks. So I think, Pannenberg's more veteran. I think he's better in organizing the back line, and he's slightly better in terms of playing out of the back when they want to do that. That being said, I think they bring enough different skill sets between the two of them, and I think Burke wants to have an open competition to constantly have them testing each other, that I think both will continue to get minutes. I wouldn't take Pannenberg starting in the home opener as an indication that Abrod got benched or that he's not going to be seen at any point the rest of the season.
So, and just to kind of confirm what I thought here, the season series, 3 wins for Switchbacks, 3 draws and 4 wins for SAFC, and of course they got the 4th win this year in the first game on May 1st here. So these 2 teams have been very even, as we can tell here, and I think a lot of it's home and away. I think Colorado Springs struggles down here, we struggle up there as far as getting results here. So I know Viking Bob is posting that he's thinking 3-0. I don't think it's going to be that. I think, it's going to be more of a defensive thing here. Would I object to Patino getting another hat trick? No. But I think it's going to be, a 1-1, maybe a 2-1 score here, because I do think both teams will give up goals. I think the offensive power with Haji Berry, he's one of the best for it here. So, for Colorado Springs to win, what do you think that they have to do against San Antonio to walk away with the 3 points?
What do they need to do in order to actually win the game? Well, I think they have to defend better in moments where they were disorganized. That game against San Antonio, they just got pulled apart and they didn't react well. They didn't put out fires well. And so I think they need to they could do certainly better. And maybe this is where the pressing comes in, where they press well enough to where those little embers metaphorically don't turn into full on bonfires and everything. And they need to do better individually 1v1 defending. On the offensive side, I think it's, as I said before, I think it's definitely feed Haji Berry, but the wingers have to get more involved. You need to see more offensive contributions in the midfield. Is that Mayaka? Is it Zandy finally getting his first goal or assist? Is it Nangalina actually beating the outside back that he's playing? If one of those 3 things happens so that it's just not all on somebody pass the ball to Haji Berry in a good position and him finish in a relatively difficult chance, I think that's going to be more conducive to them being successful. But just going in there and hoping that Berry can get 2 bangers, because, I don't think the Switchbacks are getting a clean sheet in this one, will not be a recipe for success. Somebody else has to make life easier for him or do something themselves.
Royce, what does San Antonio have to do? And I'll also ask you, Rafa, what does San Antonio have to do to get the 3 points?
I mean, without sounding like a broken record, same thing they did opening night. And it's kind of the same thing we've seen. Like I said, so what's interesting is what we talked about with the injuries and how it's almost forcing Marcina to go to the 4-4-2. That's exactly what we beat Colorado Springs with. And I think it's going to be a very similar thing, just that Colorado Springs is very susceptible to the press. We saw that in the first match that we played them. We saw that in New Mexico. New Mexico even went down a man, and they were still very susceptible to the press. So I think it's going to be a very pressing 4-4-2, and that's how you do it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
How's that?
Your thoughts, Rafa? Sorry.
I think they shouldn't take, and I don't think they'll take them lightly this go around, especially playing in the altitude. That's the thing, the fitness. How are they going to adjust to the altitude? Maybe some of the players have not had the opportunity to play in Colorado. We've been, like I said, this past week we were cramping up. Are they going to run out of gas? Especially with the pressing. If you're going to press, especially the altitude, you're going to get tired a lot quicker. So I think what they need to do, they need to pace themselves, kind of pick their battles here and there. If they do see something they can exploit it, but then take advantage of those situations, like opportunities like we squandered as far as putting the ball in the net. They have to put those in the net because this is going to be a lot closer game. Like I said, there's a lot of factors going into this one since the very first meetup. So, like I said, in order for SAFC, they're gonna have to finish off their opportunities, pace themselves, and just keep a good, keep their good defensive shape like they had the last couple of weeks.
So, having made San Antonio's traveled up to Colorado Springs, I've been lucky enough to go all three of them. I won't be able to make the trip this time here. San Antonio scored 1 goal in Colorado Springs. It's a 1-0, 1-1, 1-0. So this game typically is a very tight, very defensive match. Now, the last match was in 2019 in Colorado Springs, and I know we have a new coach and new system since then.
That's the big thing. That's the key. Yep.
So to me, like I said here, but it has been one of those places, just like with RGV. Seems like no matter what kind of lead you get, they always seem to find a way to sneak back in. Colorado Springs, at least so far in the young history, has proven to be on the road a challenging place, and it's just with the altitude. And I'm thinking it's going to be a 1-1, 2-1 match. I'd probably lean if it's 2-1 more San Antonio along those lines here. But Matt, any final thoughts or any questions that you have for Royce or Rafa? Because they are the intelligent ones when it comes to the tactical side.
Yeah, so I guess the one thing that I'll say in regard to Rafa's point about doing a good job, yes, the Switchbacks are still a team that are susceptible to the press. One thing that I think we could see change with that is if we see Ronnie Arguda back in, then I think we see the other two midfielders push up, and Arguda's just cleaner on the ball as a number 6. And then if you have more guys in the midfield who are actually able to play through, then it's cleaner in terms of them getting things into the attacking half of the field. That makes it so that the wingers don't have to push back in order to try and find the ball, and then those are easier outlets and everything. So that's something that certainly the Switchbacks didn't do well when they were up a man against New Mexico United. Obviously, it's something they did terrible against San Antonio. If they're just cleaner in the midfield, or if those wingers, again, are in positions to where they're actually easier outlets from a passing standpoint, then we're going to see much cleaner playing out of the back. But I think this game's ultimately going to come down to, I think, who does a better job of pressing in this game, because I think the Switchbacks have gotten better on it. I think they'll be better against San Antonio than they were against New Mexico, and that's still the key weakness defensively for the Switchbacks right now, and something as San Antonio's proven they can do against them very well.
Matt, want to thank you for hopping on here, and I'm sure we'll be discussing, because I think we play each other 4 times this year, so we're halfway done at this point here. So
yep, later
on in the season we'll have to get together, and hopefully Colorado's got a little bit more games underneath the belt, to be able to kind of.
So we can figure out where they are. Yeah. Sure.
Yes,
for sure.
It's that's the odd thing, with the short season, to have a bye week this early, because later on they're gonna have to make up those games. It's why, to me, last night, I think it was Sunday night, that the bowl match was canceled, even though Tacoma already flew down due to the weather here. So, but I do want to thank you coming on, Matt. Like I said here, appreciate you hopping on, and like I said here, please. Please make sure you do, if you want to follow Matt, if you'll go ahead and give your Twitter handle.
At LWOS Matt Pollard, and then it's at Last Word SC for the site, and then for the podcast holding the high line, it's at Rapids 96 Podcast. So yeah, feel free to hit me up on Twitter, and certainly I won't be there at this game, but anybody coming up to either see a Rapids game or generally be in Colorado, wants advice about hiking or anything, or just wants to hang out and grab a beer now that the pubs are open and that I'm fully vaccinated, feel free to take.
Yes, we are a fully vaccinated show here. So.
Good stuff.
But appreciate it, Matt.
All right. Thanks, boys.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Matt.
All right. That was Matt Pollard, managing editor from Last Word on sports. And of course, he does a lot of the soccer coverage for the Rapids and Switchbacks here. So to me, like I said here, I find this game very interesting. Just from my experience, every time I made the trip up to Colorado Springs, I'm always confident that they'll be able to pull it out because they've had San Antonio's always seemed to have the better talent, but up there it has not equaled now. It is a new stadium. From my understanding, it's a larger stadium. So I think he said 5,800 was there previously. So I would expect probably a similar number.
Well, I think he meant 5,800 as in that's what the social distance.
Right, social distance number, yeah, because it's a 8 to 9,000.
Yeah, I think it's 8,000. I think it's similar to Toyota Field, and so right.
So, but if you get the opportunity to go, I know the Czechs aren't going to this one here, but I know they're going to the second one up there. Check it out because that stadium, from everything I've read, outside of the beer prices, is first class, and I know is that the Trailheads, their supporters groups, does an awesome tailgate pregame, or at least they did at the old stadium. So you can go up there and drink the beers going into the stadium, and as opposed to paying $13-16 for a beer here. But
that's little bottles in.
I'll say. I mentioned Jerry World because the most expensive beer at a stadium I've seen was that I went to as a Club America against Barcelona years back, and I was like, it was my first time in Jerry World, and I was like, yeah, I wouldn't mind a beer and watching this. This is amazing. I mean, you have that big screen. You don't know what to do with yourself. You don't know whether to watch the huge screen up there or actually watch stuff. We were like in the third row or something. And I was like, let me get a beer. This will be fine. It'll calm me down because I'm uber excited. Went to the line, and it was $15 for a Bud Light. And then they had or you can get like a double shot of whatever, Jack and Coke with double shot. They wanted $30 for that. I was like, God. Imagine getting a $30 drink. It's just insane. Neither here nor there. But the stadium looks great on TV. Hopefully the experience there is awesome. Hopefully it doesn't hail there randomly for no reason 30 minutes before a game again. But it looks cool. I'm really happy for the city of Colorado Springs. I'm really happy for the Switchbacks to get that. It's really cool.
Yeah, and like I said here, hopefully New Mexico United and El Paso will get a stadium. Just for the fact that, like I said here, I'm super excited. If I wasn't going to Cancun the next morning, we would have definitely been making that trip up, for that here, because they keep it on a Saturday, so where you can drive up Friday night, get there, and then drive back Sunday, even though it's a long drive. You can.
How about that, RGV? Imagine that.
And I'm crazy enough that I'll pack the family in the car and do that. So.
There you go.
But I got family up there, so it makes it a whole lot easier. One final thought here before we get into final thoughts, we do have to touch base on the Athenians. Unfortunately, it was a rough weekend up playing this week here. For that here, they lost 6-0 to Lone Star Republic. Goals in the first and third minute by Lloyd, Boswell in the 40th and 68th minute, Kessler in the 44th minute, Hall in the 76th minute. I watched the game. It is on Lone Star Republic's YouTube page here, and like I said here, if you want to watch it. But it was just an ugly game from the start. It was one of those games that as a coach, you probably just delete the film because it just wasn't their night. Right from the start, and it was a game that got out of hand quick, and hopefully they'll be able to turn it around. I know
it's one of those matches where it's their first road match. They're probably not, you're not used to that. It's your first time. It kind of happens, and then they score in the first minute and they get punched in the mouth. And you got to react when that happens, and they just didn't react. So hopefully next time they know what they've seen that before, and they know, how to react better. And it's just from the start, it just didn't go their way. Hopefully they turned it around on the road. At home, they're obviously dominant. They just got to replicate that.
This week they do play on the road against Wilco up in Austin. Round Rock, I believe, is where they're going to be playing. Wilco's a young team, first-year team. I would expect them to come away with the win. It's a closer one there. The other big announcement that they did announce here is they are once again going to be hosting an international friendly, the Senate, on June 16th, 7:30 at Blossom Athletic Center. And of course, you can get tickets now. But they will be facing Club America Femenil. Rafa, since you're our Liga MX expert here, what kind of match do you think that they should see facing? I think it was 2018, the Femenil, Liga MX winners for that here.
Yeah, this should be a fun game. Learning experience for the Athenians. Yeah, like I said, Club America Femenil, they're one of the top female teams in Liga MX. They're always in contention for the title every year. But this is a great way to, showcase the feminine soccer in Mexico, and maybe out of this, they'll have, who could say we've had some Athenians. I had opportunities to play down there for Club America with Merlin Campa played down there, so not just with Pumas. So just a great opportunity, and hopefully maybe Club America notices some of those players for the Athenians. Says, hey, we want to test you out, see if you can play down here. It's a win-win. Like I said, you bring in an international team, and hopefully, like I said, buy your tickets. Pack up. The Blossom Athletic Center, and who's to say? I know the big thing is bringing a professional women's soccer team. Well, here's an opportunity to prove
huge opportunity
to prove that, hey, we can handle that. So, go out there, support them, and like I said, it's going to be a fun, interesting match.
My final question to you, and this will go both to Royce and Rafa here. Men's national teams. They played Switzerland, I believe it was.
U.S. played Switzerland, and then Mexico played Iceland. Yep.
Thoughts on, and I know they're friendlies, and I know Switzerland's gearing up, and so is Iceland gearing up for the Euros. That kick off in 2 weeks, I believe. The 11th?
Less than that, maybe.
It's
soon.
So obviously they're getting into a little bit of form where I think the Gold Cup's still a little bit of ways, right? I know they got the CONCACAF.
It's going to be
League.
The Nations.
It's Nations League is going to be the big ticket thing that's happening.
And that's soon. Up in Colorado. Oh, should have asked Matt about that.
I didn't think about that.
Since he's up there. That was a miss on our side.
Yeah. Didn't think about it.
That's another home game for Mexico with the altitude. They're like in Mexico City, so.
Yeah, you and I were talking about that, how for Mexico it kind of fits. It fits, where they train, especially with the altitude. And I know it's a drier heat, but what you mentioned, I guess, is kind of very similar with Mexico City as well. I thought it was more humid down there, but you were telling me it's not as humid as I was trying to lead it to believe. But I know you follow Mexico a little bit more, Rafa, here, but your thoughts on how they performed this past week and kind of expectations coming up for them.
I think the big concern is with Tata is finding a central a center forward with
Raul Jimenez.
Raul Jimenez out with that head injury, and he's more the when we see Raul Jimenez, he's a very physical forward. He will pound you. But that opens up for like Tecatito and Chucky or whoever's on the outside, opportunities to set up those plays. So we don't really have that. I know Henry Martin for Club Americas. I know he's taking that role. Eventually, he'll, like I said, it's going to take him time to get comfortable with that because he is a physical player, but he's not at the caliber as Raul Jimenez. Look at the great things he's done at Wolves. He's played some European League play, and he's I know this year they went down, because of injuries. They went down the table, but I think, like I said, it's a learning. I know he's using this as a learning experience for a lot of the players, to kind of, especially those the kids, one from the world for the Olympics, with the Mexico team. I know he'll probably use some of their players. So
that's if the Olympics are being played. I'm still
that's the question mark. Yeah, but if you look at some of the players that they have that played on that team, they do have roles playing, with the first team. So, and I think he's going to use this to figure out what he's going to do for the Gold Cup. What 22 players he's going to, or 24 players or whatever they have going in July. So, but it's I guess I saw highlights of the game. Chucky Lozano, what can you say about him? He's I'm surprised that I'm sure he's going to get calls from some European teams pretty soon to play. And now they got their head coach from Napoli took off to Fiorentina. I think he'd be a great fit. Maybe even like at Arsenal or even at Manchester United. I think he would be a good player to have on there to play up front with them. So
trying not to laugh.
Yeah, I mean that's what some of the
Lozano was arguably Napoli's best player on their team for scoring offensive player on their team, and a lot of chances were created through him and his speed. But I mean, we'll see what happens. Honestly, I hope Raul Jimenez comes back because it was an ugly injury, and you never like to see that. I know it's very promising, and they were saying, unfortunately, Espiritu Santo is probably going to Tottenham. I think that's the rumor.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see who ends up coaching the Wolves, and we'll see when he comes back healthy. Hopefully he does, because
Raul could end up at Tottenham if they saw Harry Kane wants him. He's on his way out, so he'd probably be the perfect replacement for them.
A lot of teams are looking at Harry Kane for sure because Tottenham, it's ugly. Yep.
Royce, your thoughts on, and I know you're wearing a USA shirt here. Your thoughts on their performance?
There's some good things and some bad things in that performance. It was very much, there was a lot of experimenting with some other positional play. You saw again the inverted wing backs happening again, but this time both on the left and the right. Kind of the issue that the U.S. saw was that Brendan Aronson wasn't coming back to cover for whenever Serginho Dest went up, and the midfielder on that side, either Weston McKennie or who was there on the left in the start. I can't think off the top of my head, but they weren't covering for whenever Serginho would go up. So it was whoever went up, Switzerland would play the ball, get it to him, and it would basically be him one-on-one with John Brooks. So that's something to figure out and to clean up. It did look good going forward. The press was very good. Even Switzerland was susceptible to the press the U.S. put on. You just got to figure out how to keep that contained and to keep it from getting countered as they did. They just kind of got countered. But there's a lot of promising moments in that match. I'm sure Mexico is the same. They went down early. They came back. It's promising for both sides. Obviously, that Switzerland is the much better team than Iceland. But, they're both good European teams looking to make some noise in the Euros. And we'll see what happens in the CONCACAF Nations League.
And Champions League finale, Chelsea eked out a 1-0 win over Man City, which was a little bit surprised. Thought Man City was going to pull it out. Any thoughts on that? I know Pep, in my opinion, lost the game, and I know Royce disagreed.
Again.
Royce disagreed
See, I know. I disagree with that. Like, I understand where he's coming from. Basically, what Chelsea does is that they kind of Chelsea does what SAFC does is that they really clog it. They clog that midfield. They clog the wings. They bring people to get compact, and it's really tough to play through them. The way to break that is to connect that midfield with with a good striker up front, and that's what they did. Was that they went with that 4-1-4-1. That's how you break that. You get it to that guy, he holds it, and then you distribute it out. And that's why Sterling started, and that's why you saw Phil Foden. And they made a lot of good chances. Did they get shots on net? No. Does a chance have to get a shot on net? No, it doesn't. And they got through Chelsea. They got through that Chelsea press a lot, and they got a lot of joy. It just couldn't get by their center back. And the moment that
had a
changed
hell of a game.
Yeah, the moment that changed the game was when Rudiger elbowed De Bruyne and broke his orbital bone, broke his nose. That was the moment that changed the game, and that arguably should have been a red card. And Rudiger went down holding his head like it was head to head. Rudiger's like 6 inches taller than De Bruyne. It was his elbow and his shoulder that went right into De Bruyne's face. That should have been a red, but obviously one of the USL Championship pro refs was refereeing that match and didn't see an obvious red card. So that's what changed the match. They were getting a lot of joy. De Bruyne was going through and just cutting through them like hot knife, like butter, and they were getting those runs in. They just couldn't get their shot off. Raheem Sterling had a couple where he lost the ball on his feet. Man City was the dominant side. Chelsea countered once, and they countered professionally, and they got that goal.
Chelsea early with their, I forget the name of their forward. They had
it was Kai Havertz and
Timo
Werner. And Timo Werner missed that sitter.
He had 2 or 3 opportunities here, but Rafa, your thoughts on the Champions League finale?
I'm just glad Man City lost.
See, it's weird because I'm partial to Man City, and I would not have minded them seeing them win. I love Pep Guardiola. I love how his mind works. But
Christian Pulisic from Barcelona.
But the most important thing is U.S. national team left winger Christian Pulisic is a UEFA Champions League winner. Suck it, Rafa.
Hey, Hugo Sanchez has won it too before him, so
I don't want to drop my mic because it's expensive, but imagine me dropping it.
So, final thoughts with it being Memorial Day. Like I said here, my father served, and he didn't die through there, but I think unfortunately he passed away due to some of the conditions of serving. Through that here. And I think President Obama, put out our former President Obama,
I was going to say Biden
put out this quote here: "Our nation owes a debt to its fallen heroes that we can never fully repay, but we can honor their sacrifice." And it's something that I think we should do more than just one day, or Veterans Day. I know also gets kind of tied into it. It's something that I know San Antonio is a military city, and it's something that we do respect the military, and it's a close-knit community with it. But just if you're listening to this, whether here in San Antonio, whether you're wherever you're listening to it from, I know it's kind of tough sometimes, but hopefully if you see a service member, serviceman or service member, tell them thank you for the service, because at any time they could be called to action to defend this country, and they will do it. And unfortunately, some don't make it home. So I do want to thank you, to all the service members out there, past and to the future, for the sacrifice that you will be doing, and for the families as well. That's one of the things that, what's my job here. I speak with a lot of the family members, and I deal with some of these calls that unfortunately the spouse did not return. So just thank you for your service. We are a great country, and just it's something that please don't lose sight of that. No matter what's going on in the U.S. here. Rafa, your final thoughts, and then we'll end with Royce.
A couple final thoughts. Like I said, to our servicemen, happy Memorial Day for you guys. Like I said, my dad served Vietnam vet from the Air Force, and my younger brother former Army. So happy Memorial Day to them. The second thing, if anybody saw the news last week, a big doubleheader coming up in the Alamo Dome, July 11th. My Club America's coming to take care of the little kitty cats from Tejas from Monterey. Should be interesting because that's actually Piojo's first game against his former team. So that'll be interesting.
I forgot
So
Piojo's with Tigres.
Yeah,
I need to go to that match. I want to see him go Super Saiyan.
So he's going up against them, against Solari, his replacement. So that should be an interesting game. I know that maybe not some of the star players may not be there because of Copa America, and that's what's in kind of jeopardy right now because now they moved it. Well, it got moved to Brazil, but don't hold your breath there. And then also we have a Gold Cup and also some European Cup play. So buy your tickets for that. Should be an interesting game. Should be a fun game. And then the third one, I think we found our mascot, the white cat, was Gatos Blancos. So
there you go.
So
I like it. Los Gatos
SAFC,
Blancos, 100%.
There's your mascot for the season there. So I was a little nervous. If it was a black cat, I was like, oh, I think we're gonna lose the game, just like that Dallas New York Giants game.
Yeah. As far as my final thoughts, obviously, men and women serving. Thank you, past, present, and like Harry said, future. I've had countless family members serving currently. I have a relative or two that are on the Vietnam Memorial Wall. It's freedom isn't free, and that's basically it. Never forget that freedom is not free. Our freedom to talk nonsense about soccer and all this real fun stuff, it ain't free, man. And there's a lot of sacrifices involved, and we're forever indebted to those men and women that serve.
As far as status of the show here, I'm going to be out next week for sure, and possibly the following Monday. So we're going to try to see if Royce can host here. If not, we may be out, a week or two for that here. So, family needs a non-soccer vacation, I was told. So we are doing
mental break, man.
Non-soccer vacation.
I don't disagree.
So, although if Cancun falls through, we might sweep it and get to the soccer vacation.
Going to Colorado.
I don't think I can pull off Colorado, but Vegas and New Mexico would definitely be trips that
if you go to Vegas, you can go watch a game from poolside or from a little waiting pool. Did y'all see that? What Vegas is doing? It's like for $50 more plus the price of your ticket, you can sit right pitch side in a little kiddie pool and basically just kind of sit in the water and just chill. Or if you own a Toyota, you can just pull up just right on the side of the pitch and just watch the match from your car. Insane. It's very Vegas. It's insane.
And that team is so bad. It's so bad.
Yep. Yep.
Is LAFC still loaning them players, or is it?
No, they do. They loan them 5-6 players. But the problem with Vegas is they train in LA with the first team. I don't even think they have a full roster without the loanees. Game days, they fly to Vegas, or they go to Vegas. I guess I can't assume they fly. They may be taking the bus to Vegas. When the game's over, they bus back to LA. So it's, and I know it's a 1-year thing here because I have a feeling that they were 50-50. If USL didn't approve this setup, I don't think the lights would be in the league. I'll just leave it at that. It's from what I've heard is the only way that they're playing this year is because of this arrangement. So, but that'll be the second game of the road trip. And then, so to me, this 3-game road trip, they're at Colorado on next Saturday. They play the following Friday against Vegas. They come back that following, the Wednesday afterward. Was it the 16th? Because I fly back on the 16th. The 16th, they play New Mexico, and then the next home match against RGV is on the 19th. So for San Antonio, they've got, kind of a jam-packed schedule coming up here where,
4 matches in 3 weeks.
Yeah, by the time we talk again here, there'll be 4 matches to kind of talk about. Although we will maybe try to see if we can get some sort of show on, depending on internet connection down there. And, if we can get Royce up and running, for that here. So, but I thank you for everybody tuning in. Like I said here, once again, happy Memorial Day to everybody, for that here, and thank you for your service and thank you for your sacrifice, most importantly, for that here. But what's life without goals? We're out.